All right, let's just dive right in. If you're a VP, a director, C-suite, your resume is probably one of your most important career documents. But here's the thing, the game is completely changed. So today, we're going to talk about how to tear it down and rebuild it from scratch, specifically for the executive level. You ready? Let's do this.
I know this is going to sound a little, well, extreme, but it's the absolute truth. At the executive level, pretty much everything you've ever been told about resumes is just plain wrong. All those rules that got you here, the one-page resume, stuffing it with keywords, using all those standard action verbs, they don't just stop being effective at the C-suite level. No, it's worse than that. They actively start hurting your chances.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever looked at who got a job you were up for and thought, wait a minute, they have half my experience? How did that happen? If that sounds familiar, it's probably because your resume just looks like a senior manager's resume, but with bigger numbers tacked on. You see, the criteria are completely different now, and if you're still using that old playbook, you are, I promise you, getting passed over for roles that you are more than qualified for. Okay, so to fix this, we've got to understand what we're up against. Let's really get into why the executive hiring game is just a whole different sport. And this right here breaks it down perfectly. There are really three huge shifts. First off, you're not writing for one hiring manager anymore. Forget that. You're writing for a whole committee. We're talking the CEO, the board of directors, the CHRO, maybe even an executive search firm. Second, they're not just doing a quick keyword scan. No, they are dissecting the narrative arc of your career. They want to see the story. And third, well, when the pay is in the high 6 or even 7 figures, you better believe the scrutiny on every single thing you claim is absolutely intense. Which brings us to our very first and maybe most important insight, the executive summary. Look, this is the most valuable real estate on the entire document. You've got about 6 seconds, maybe less, for them to decide if they're going to keep reading or just toss it. That's it. And the goal of this summary is not to tell your life story. Its one and only job is to answer the committee's very first, most critical question. Does this person operate at our scale? That's it. You have to prove your scope, your credibility right out of the gate, or they're not going to read another word. Okay, line 1 is all about scope. This has to be packed with hard numbers that define just how big your world is. We're talking P&L responsibility, that's profit and loss. How big was your team? What was your geographic footprint? This instantly frames your experience in a language that, the CEO and the board, they get it. They speak this language. Line 2, this is all about transformation. Let's be real. Executives are not hired to be caretakers. They're hired to be change agents. They're hired to shake things up and drive the business forward. So you have to show that you didn't just manage the status quo, you fundamentally transformed it for the better. All right, line 3 is the outcome. You have to quantify the results of that transformation. This is where you connect the dots between what you did and the big money results. Think cumulative savings over 3 years or a huge jump in quality metrics. And these can't be fluffy claims, right? They have to be precise, measurable results that scream confidence. And just a reminder, you better be able to back up every single number you put down. And finally, line 4. This is your differentiator. This is your secret sauce. What's that one specific high-stakes problem that you, and only you, are the perfect person to solve? This is what's going to separate you from a stack of other really, really qualified people. It's the answer to the question, okay, but why you? And please, whatever you do, avoid this. This is the worst possible opening. Seasoned C-suite executive with over 25 years of experience. Ugh, it's such a waste of prime real estate. It tells them nothing of value, and worse, it immediately makes them think about your age. So please, lead with your scope and your impact, not how many years you've been doing this. All right, let's move on. Key insight number 2. Now, as you move up, a lot of senior leaders pick up board seats, advisory roles, that kind of thing. The trick is to list them in a way that actually strengthens your story as an operator, instead of muddying the waters and making you look less focused. This little system here gives you a super clear way to think about it. Tier 1 stuff, like paid board seats, those have to be on there, no question. They show you understand governance. Tiers 2 and 3 can add some nice color, but only if they're truly significant. And Tier 4, you gotta be ruthless here. Generic professional memberships, expired certs, just cut them. All they do is add clutter, and frankly, it makes it look like you don't know what's important. And how you format this is also a big deal. A board role doesn't need 5 bullet points. Seriously, The title, the company name, what committee you were on, that says it all. Using a condensed format like this saves you that precious, precious space for what really matters, your achievements as an operator where you were in the trenches getting things done. Okay, insight number 3, and this is a big one. It's time to bust the myth of the one-page resume. At the executive level, that rule just goes out the window. A 2 or even 3-page resume is not just okay, it's often essential to tell the whole story. But, and this is a big but, the structure has to be absolutely perfect. Think of page 1 as the hook. Its only job is to be so powerful, so compelling that every single person reading it has to flip to page 2. So what's on it? Your killer 4-line summary, a quick list of maybe 6 to 12 core competencies, and then you jump right into your most recent role, leading with your top 3 most impressive achievements. Then we get to page 2. This is the evidence. This is where you back up all those claims. You'll finish out the achievements for your current role, and then you'll detail your second and third most recent roles. The key here, the whole point, is to create that narrative arc we talked about. You're connecting the dots, showing a clear path of more responsibility and bigger impact over time. And page 3, that's the depth. This is where you add the finishing touches. You'll put your board and advisory experience here. A very condensed summary of your early career, anything older than 15 years, and your education. And hey, notice this, no graduation dates, you don't need them. This page really rounds out your profile and shows you're a leader in the wider business world, not just inside one company. But let me be absolutely 100% clear on this. 3 pages, that is the hard stop, the absolute maximum. A 4-page, 5-page, or heaven forbid longer resume doesn't say I have a lot of experience, it says I have poor judgment and I can't prioritize. And that is the exact opposite of what they're looking for in an executive. Okay, so that's the what and the why. Now, let's talk about the how. Let's turn all this theory into a real, concrete action plan you can actually use. I'm a big fan of breaking things down, so here's a simple 5-day sprint. Day 1. You do nothing but workshop that 4-line summary until it's perfect. Day 2, go through your career and pick out only your most powerful, quantifiable achievements. Day 3, weave those achievements into that narrative arc we talked about. Day 4, get all those board and advisory roles organized. And Day 5, that's all about polishing, proofreading, and getting a second set of eyes on it. See, it takes a huge job and makes it totally manageable. So you've done all this hard, strategic work. Your resume is amazing. But wait, there's one last little hurdle, and it's one that trips up so many people. Even for top-level jobs, your beautiful new resume is probably going to meet a robot before it meets a human. I'm talking about applicant tracking systems, or ATS. Yep, you heard that right. Fortune 500s, even for their C-suite roles, use systems like Workday to screen everyone first. And all your hard work on that narrative can get completely mangled by a simple formatting mistake the robot doesn't like. That's why doing a final check with a tool like Pass the Scan is, well, it's just smart. It's like a pilot doing their pre-flight checklist. It just makes sure your strategic document actually gets delivered to the board in one piece. So let's just wrap it all up with this one idea. This is the big mindset shift. Your resume is not a history document. It's not just a list of stuff you've done. It is a strategic argument for your future value. It's a compelling, data-backed case for why you are the best investment they can make. You get that right, and you win. That's the secret at the executive level.